On January 7th, 1972, Nancy Elaine Anderson, who was 19 years old and lived in Waikiki, Hawaii, was found dead in her room. She had been stabbed 63 times, and 3 of them were very deep cuts. At first, the case was thought to be a suicide, but when these injuries were found, the story changed completely. The study that came next was long and complicated, and it wouldn't end until 2022 when a key clue was found. Who was the killer? How did the cops figure out what was going on after all this time? Hi, and welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, please consider subscribing, as it helps us motivate to create more intriguing content for you. Let's have a look at the 50-year-old cold case, finally solved in 2022, the Nancy Anderson's case. Waikiki, Hawaii, is a neighborhood in Honolulu, which is the capital city of Hawaii. Waikiki is a major tourist destination for leisure and holiday fun. People from all over the world are drawn to the white sand beaches. The sunny beaches, tropical weather, and mysterious scenery make every day feel like a fun vacation to the people who live there. Waikiki is known for being a great place to go on vacation, but it is also known for a case that shocked the country in 1972. Nancy Elaine Anderson was born on November 10, 1952, to Merle Van Anderson and Thelma Bernice Brown Anderson. She was a friendly person. She had 10 brothers and sisters, so she grew up in a big family full of love and fun. She was born in Bay City, which is in Bay County, Michigan. She wanted to try out island life. She had always wanted to live on an island before she went to college after she graduated from John Glenn High School in 1970. She moved to Hawaii in October 1971 and got a job at a McDonald's at the Ala Moana Center. She lived in an apartment at Aloha Drive in Waikiki. Jody, Nancy's roommate, said that she was too open with people because she was so friendly. Even though she was friendly and open, her friends, co-workers, and family seemed to be wary of her. Everyone in her life said that she dated a lot of different men, which made 19-year-old Nancy suspicious about her decisions. But at work, her boss, Pedro Rapolio, remembers her as a reliable, kind, and helpful worker. Julie Torres, who worked with her, thought she wasn't sexually active, but was too nice. No one would have thought that her nice behavior could lead to a cruel end. During Christmas and New Year's that year, she went back to her hometown in Michigan to see her family. A few days into the new year, she went back to Waikiki, not knowing what was in store for her. It had been less than 2 months since she moved to Hawaii to live her dream life, when she was brutally stabbed to death on January 7, 1972. At 2:30 p.m. on January 7th, Jody Spooner, Nancy's roommate in Hawaii, came home from shopping to find 2 unknown guys selling silverware to Nancy. Jody and Nancy sat down to watch the show, but neither of them bought anything. After talking for 10 minutes with Nancy, Jody went to her room to take a nap between 2:40 and 2:50 p.m. Even though Nancy and Jody were friends and got along well, Jody liked to be alone, while Nancy liked to have odd people over. She thought that Nancy was too trusting because she talked to people without thinking about her safety. Jody remembers that when she went to sleep, all the doors to the flat were closed and locked. Jody could hear Nancy's radio playing in her bedroom and water running in her bathroom as she fell asleep. When she woke up at 5:15 and went to the kitchen, she could still hear running water coming from Nancy's room, whose door was now open. When Jody went into the room, she saw her friend lying on the floor covered in blood. She ran to her neighbors to ask for help calling the cops because she thought it was a suicide. The Michigan girl, who was 19 years old, was found dead in a pool of blood. No one knew how she had died. On the evening of January 7th, 1972, officers Mitten Galise and George Gibbons of the Hawaii Police Department got a call about a possible suicide. As the cops were walking into the apartment, they saw a blue and white towel with blood on it near the door. When they went into Nancy's room, she was lying on the floor, not moving. The police also found bloodstains on the bed and in the bathroom. Everyone was shocked by how badly Nancy died. Even though an ambulance was called, the doctor said she was dead at about 6:01 p.m. While Nancy Anderson was being killed violently in her small apartment, her friend Jody Spooner was still there sleeping and didn't hear anything loud enough to wake her up. Even the neighbors didn't see or notice anything strange. No one saw anyone enter or leave. This situation was as strange as could be. The police looked everywhere for hints, but there wasn't much to go on. Nancy had several puncture wounds on her sternum, chest, belly, and both thighs. Another cop saw that her shirt was torn on the right side of her armpit and that her bra was showing. The autopsy showed that she had puncture wounds on her left wrist, cuts on her left upper arm, and blood under both of her fingernails. According to the autopsy report, Nancy was cut 60 times with a paring or penknife. She had 63 wounds, 3 of which were exit wounds. A stab wound to the heart was what killed Nancy. This caused her to bleed to death. It was thought that the device would be about 10 millimeters wide and 60 millimeters long. None of the knives in Nancy's room fit the description of the murder weapon. According to the medical report, neither drugs nor alcohol were found in her body. But the presence of spermatozoa was proven, which could just mean that a sexual act took place. The cops used the things they found at the crime scene to figure out what happened. At the scene, they found blood on a bedspread, 3 towels, and 2 shoes. They thought that the stabbing got so bad at one point that the attacker's hand slipped off the blade and got cut pretty badly. Then, the attacker used the towel to wipe off any extra blood. Police also thought that the cut on Nancy's thumb was probably done to protect herself. Not only was the killer hard to find, but nobody knew why they did it. Since nothing was taken from the house, it was not a theft. Because Nancy was kind and nice, she didn't have too many enemies. In this case, it was already getting hard for the cops to find new clues. They did have a few people to look into further. Parker Graham and Jeffrey Alward, who were salesmen, were the last people to leave Nancy's apartment. They were asked to come in and talk to the police. They told in detail how they arranged to meet with Nancy. The presentation started around 1:30 or 1:45 p.m. When Nancy and her roommate weren't interested in the goods, they gave them a pie cutter and left the building without going anywhere else. Both Parker and Jeffrey gave their fingerprints on their own, but none of them matched any that were found at the crime scene. Their first comments were proven true by the polygraph test. When this didn't lead anywhere, the cops looked into what Jody's boyfriend, Kim Weaver, had said. He said Nancy would often have strange-looking guys over to her apartment and hang out with them. He didn't know what their real names were, but he called them things like Frenchman, Reno, Nevada cowboy, and Do Food from Detroit. The police looked into these people and their stories. William Nano was from Reno, Nevada. He was dating Nancy, but they had never done anything more personal than kiss. He said that he had never been to her place and that he had no idea who might have killed her. Stephanie Frazier lived in the building next to Aloha Drive at Alward Boulevard. On the day the murder happened, she heard a lot of noise. She saw a car in the parking lot on the upper level, and she could hear a Caucasian couple fighting in the car. After 15 minutes, they got out of the car, but Stephanie couldn't tell if they went into the building or into the street. She said that the man had tanned skin, was between 5'9" and 5'10" tall, was 25 years old, and had dark brown curly hair. She thought the woman was in her 20s and had dirty blonde hair that was shoulder length. When she was shown several pictures of possible suspects, she said that the guy she saw arguing in the car was Richard Hacker, who was a friend of both Jody and Kim. She didn't know for sure, though. When the cops later talked to Nancy's co-workers, one of them, Karen Sullivan, told them that Nancy had told her during one of their lunch breaks that she had dated a mafia member back home. But nothing important was found and could be proven. The cops found a savings passbook from the Bank of Hawaii in her purse. It said that she started an account on January 7th, just hours before she died. When Paula Mayer, the bank teller, was questioned, She said that she got back from lunch around 2:15, and she thought that Nancy started the account between 2:15 and 3 p.m. The cops talked to neighbors, boyfriends, roommates, salespeople, property managers, co-workers, family, and friends, but none of the suspects or leads they had turned out to be true. The case went cold in the end. In the 50 years since Nancy Anderson's murder, there have been many tips, attempts to reopen the cold case, and useless hints, but police haven't been able to find a solid suspect. But the cops did not just give up on finding Nancy Anderson. They dug deeper and found new answers because science and technology had changed. From 2001 to 2002, blood samples from 1972 were used to make the DNA profiles of 3 people, 2 men and a woman. Everyone who had anything to do with the case was checked out again and found not to be a suspect. In December 2021, Honolulu police got a tip that 77-year-old Tudor Cherila Jr. might have had something to do with the death of Nancy Anderson. The DNA found at the crime scene was studied by the Honolulu Police Department. They also hired Parabon Nano Labs, a DNA technology company in Virginia, to help with this case. Genetic genealogists used DNA phenotyping to guess how the suspect might have looked at age 25 based on his traits. Cherila lived in Nevada in 2021. So, the Reno Police Department found out about the new information in the case. They tried to get his DNA in secret, but they were caught. After keeping an eye on him for a few weeks, John Cherila, Tudor's biological son, was called in March 2022 to help get a DNA sample. On May 5, 2022, the forensic report showed that John Cherila's DNA sample was linked to the DNA found at the crime scene. It showed that John Cherila was the son of the person who was in Nancy's room. This proved that John's father, Tudor Cherila, had something to do with the case. The suspect's background DNA sample matched the first profiles that were found in Nancy's room. This was a big step forward in the case of Nancy Anderson, whose case had only gotten colder over time. Genetic history shows that the suspect would have been about 25 years old when the crime was committed. As it turns out, Tudor would have been 27 years old when Nancy was killed in 1972. He was born on April 15, 1945. He was a graduate assistant at the University of Hawaii at the time, and he used to live on Canal Street, which was about 3 miles from Nancy's place. After she died, he moved away from Hawaii and went to law school. Tudor then went to work as Nevada's Deputy Attorney General. He has been a lawyer in Nevada for a long time. He works for Attorney General Richard H. Bryan in the places around Reno, Carson City, and Lake Tahoe. In 1994, he lost the race for the Nevada State Supreme Court. Tudor is a party to court cases that have to do with taxes or estates. This is not the first time that Tudor Cherila has been involved in a case. In 1971, he said that someone had taken his car. After he got his car back, he made a complaint saying that some of the things in it were missing. Again, in 1995, when Tudor was 50 years old, he was accused of taking his then-girlfriend hostage, tying her up, and trying to rape her. The charges were dropped, though. In 1998, his name came up because of his ties to the brothel run by Nevada's brothel boss, Joseph Conforte. He was the former head of a GE Corps. They were accused of working together to cheat the government. After 50 long years, Nancy finally got justice in 2022, when the first person in the case was finally caught. On September 6, 2022, he was charged with killing her. Detectives served an arrest warrant on Tudor Cherila at his home and used a buccal swab to get a sample of his DNA. Just 2 days after that, Tudor tried to kill himself but didn't succeed. The findings were said to show that Tudor was responsible for the death of Nancy Anderson. After the approval, a warrant for arrest without bail was made public. Police finally had Tudor Cherila Jr. in jail for killing Nancy. He was kept in Reno, Nevada, at the Washoe County Jail. He was sent back to Honolulu, where he pleaded not guilty to killing Nancy in the second degree. His bail has been set at $1 million. More cases are coming up, and they will decide what will happen to him. The DNA discovery changed the case in a big way, leading to the arrest of the main suspect. Before that, the case had been a mystery for a long time. Even though 50 years had passed, the Anderson family did not give up. The murder of Nancy Elaine Anderson, who was only 19 years old, was not forgotten by the cops. Now that a proven suspect has been caught, Nancy won't have to wait too long for justice. The killer who had stabbed her more than 60 times was finally caught with the help of new technology and DNA genealogy. Do you think there were other people engaged in the killing of Nancy Anderson? Use the comments to tell us what you think. Please like, review, and subscribe to the channel to see more. Stay safe until the next time, and thanks for watching.